Hello everyone, welcome back to Whirlwind Radio. This is Marcelo Sugdeo. Remember the Flintstones? Now with artificial intelligence, we can create the Flintstones videos from just text descriptions. The days of putting together a new piece of furniture from IKEA could be gone soon. And what exactly is blockchain? I will share some more information on this. Looking through pages of instructions and then sorting through a bag of screws and bolts, to assemble furniture may soon be a thing of the past. Scientists have spent 3 years programming a robot made of arms, grippers, sensors, and 3D cameras, which can assemble a frame of IKEA dining chair in about 20 minutes. They say that it may not be long before such robots can fully assemble a piece of furniture from a manual or from verbal instruction, or just by looking at an image of the finished item. So that's really cool. One of the researchers said that they have achieved this low-level capability to teach the robot how to do it. And then in the next 5 to 10 years, what you're aiming for is to achieve the high-level reasoning of what to do. I know it may seem trivial for a robot to assemble an IKEA dining chair, but it is a big deal given that the parts that were used to build the robot and how the scientists feed that information to the robot. The researchers give the pair of robotic arms some basic instructions. Think about cartoon illustrations, but in a code format. And this piece, for example, this piece goes first into this other piece, and then this other piece goes into here, and so on. Then they place the pieces in a random pattern in front of the robots, which the robots then were able to look at through the 3D camera. So the researchers give the robots a list of tasks, and then the robots just take it from there. The robots then figure out where exactly in the original position of the frame, and then calculates the motions of the two arms automatically going to and grasping the items and then transporting it and then putting them together. As one arm grasps, say, the back of the chair, the other arm picks up another piece with maybe the pegs and then tries to insert it into the hole at the joint. The robot then makes swirling motions around the hole, and when it feels that the force pattern is enough, it puts that peg into that hole and then applies some force to insert that into the arm. But it gets a little more difficult when the robot arms have to grip either end of a larger piece of chair. Not only does each robot arm have to calculate its own grasping and lifting motion, but it has to do so in consideration of the other arm. One of the researchers said that if there is a small error, for example in the modeling of the object, then the arms would fight each other, pulling this direction and then pulling in the other direction. And if that happens, the robot will break the object. So here we see a little difficult situation. But the solution to this is what they use in this is called the force sensors. If the force is too much, then it will change the motion of the robot to accommodate the errors. And this is quite impressive. But given the amount of time and the hand-holding that the researchers had to give to the robot, it would have been easier to just assemble the chair by the hands of a human. But setting that aside, this is a good first step in creating a robot that can assemble furniture. And given the amount of time that we spend putting together furniture from IKEA and having a technology like this, it can give us more time that we can use on other things. The next steps? Well, researchers are working on the next level of autonomy, which is like imitation learning, in which a human either joysticks the robots to learn to do the task in the right sequence, or the robot watches the human do it and then mimics it. The ultimate goal is to show the robot an image of the assembled chair, and then it has to figure it out. This, according to researchers, can be done there maybe in about 5 or 6 years from now. What exactly is blockchain? We've been hearing a lot about blockchain and bitcoins, and it is a little too hard to grasp what it is exactly. So I'll try to share some information with you. Hopefully at the end of this show, you will have a better understanding of blockchain. I found an interesting article on digitaltrends.com on blockchain, from which I gather most of the information that I will share with you. Blockchain is a database that's validated by a wider community rather than a central authority. It's a collection of records that a crowd oversees and maintains, rather than relying on a single entity like a bank or government, which most likely hosts data for that particular server. Of course, a physical database kept on paper could never be managed by tens of thousands of peers, and that's where computers and the internet come in. Each block represents a number of transactional records, and the chain links them all together with a hash function. As records are created, they are confirmed by a distributed network of computers and then paired up with the previous entry in the chain, thereby creating a chain of blocks, or blockchain. The entire blockchain is retained on this large network of computers, meaning that no one person has control over its history. And that's important, because it certifies everything that has happened in the chain prior, and it means that no one person can go back and change things. So you see, it makes the blockchain a public ledger that cannot be easily tampered with, and giving it a built-in layer of protection that isn't possible with a standard centralized database of information. So there's a huge difference in this database. While traditionally we have needed these central authorities to trust one another and to fulfill the needs of, say, for contracts, the blockchain makes it possible to have our peers guarantee that for us in an automated, secure fashion. And that's the innovation of blockchain. And it's why you may hear it's used for like reference to like Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. Though generally not used for it yet, blockchain could be used to maintain a variety of information. An organization called Follow My Vote is attempting to use it for an electronic voting system that's more secure than modern versions, and even healthcare providers might want to use it to handle patient records. Now, where did blockchain come from? Although blockchain technology has been effectively employed in the past decade, its roots can be traced back as far as 1976, when a paper was issued that discussed the idea of a mutual distributed ledger, which is what blockchain effectively acts as. This was later built upon in the 1990s, and then later with the combination of powerful modern computers and the clever implementation of cryptocurrency to make these ideas viable. As we know, data security is failing and there has to be a better system. Blockchain creates that secure, unalterable public record and is poised to dramatically improve the world around us, from voting systems to rental contracts. How do cryptocurrencies use blockchain? Although Bitcoin and alternative currencies all utilize blockchain technology, they do so in differing manners. Since Bitcoin was first invented, it has undergone a few changes. In the case of Bitcoin, a new block in its blockchain is created roughly every 10 minutes, and this is important. That block verifies and records or certifies new transactions that have taken place. In order for that to happen, miners utilize powerful computing hardware to provide a proof of work, a calculation that effectively creates a number which verifies the block and the transactions it contains. Several of those confirmations must be received before a Bitcoin transaction can be considered effectively completed, even if technically the actual Bitcoin is transferred near instantaneously. And this is where Bitcoin has run into problems in recent months. You may remember the entire thing that happened with Bitcoins. As the number of Bitcoin transaction increases, the relatively hard 10-minute block creation time means that it can take longer to confirm all the transactions and the backlogs that can occur. And that's the problem. Now, what's the catch with this? Blockchain technology has a lot of exciting potential, but there are some serious considerations that need to be addressed before we can say it's the technology of the future. Remember all that computing power required to verify transactions? Those computers need electricity. It needs a lot of power and reliability of power in developed nations. Studies have shown that the amount of power required to power blockchain would include the amount of electricity of many nations combined. So that's an issue. The other issue is transaction speed. And as we have noted already, blocks in a chain must be verified by the distributed network, and that can take time, a lot of time. At its worst, Bitcoin's average transaction time exceeded 41 hours. Now, these problems will need to be resolved as blockchain becomes more popular. Still, considering we're less than a decade from the time that blockchain was first implemented, it seems likely that we're just seeing the start of adoption of this new idea. So there you have it, a brief overview of what blockchain is all about. I hope that helps. It can take such a long time to animate cartoons. But what if you could ask computers to do some of the lifting instead? And they just might. There's this really neat AI system that is called Craft that you can use to produce Flintstone scenes based on just text descriptions. Imagine that, a computer system creating Flintstone images based on the text that you just input into that system. Think about the days when we can maybe have an app where you can place your description in and out will come cartoons that you can share. So what they did was they've used about 25,000 3-second clips that they've inputted into the AI system. And that provided descriptions of the scene on what's really happening. From there, the AI only needed a line or two referencing a scene to stitch together the characters and the backgrounds and also the props. So for example, Fred wearing a red hat is walking in the living room. So you just inputted that text into the system, and out came that image of Fred walking across the living room of his home wearing his red hat. Another one was Betty and Wilma have a conversation in the living room, and they take turns conversing with each other while they are seated on the couch. Again, after inputting that image is there, and you can see them talking to each other. That's really amazing. Now, using the Flintstones as the project has been a little easier for the AI. As you know, the Flintstone is just based on limited animation style with a more static background. So it's easier to create those images. It is a little more difficult, though, for other animations that have more dynamic art style. For example, think about the new movies out, Ferdinand or Peter Rabbit. So they will create it requires a lot more work, a lot more animation to be involved. But yet, it's a good start. Craft shows us how AI could be used for animation going forward. A refined system with a larger, more complex training samples could result in animating the routine parts of a cartoon, like back and forth conversations, or like Wilma and Betty, or walking through a room like Fred. But it could lead to a drop in creativity, in the sense that you don't need someone to be there to create those things anymore. But they can now start focusing on more unique scenes or putting out more content for that animation. And this could be a positive result for us. We could spend less time waiting for new shows to come out or the second installment of a movie to be out, and spend more time really enjoying them. So I think this is really a cool AI feature to have, and something that I look forward to, even having an app that I can place my text in and be able to have an animation that I can just share with someone, or share with someone here at work. Thanks for taking the time to join us on Whirlwind Radio for today. This is Marcelo Sagdeo saying stay safe in the technology whirlwind.
Crack it.